What becomes of an emperor when his empire is gone? Is he still a god? Or just a man? This is the story of Puyi, the last emperor of China, a man who was once the son of heaven and ended his days as a humble gardener. His life was a mirror reflecting the turbulent, tragic, and transformative story of modern China. In 1908, in the heart of Beijing, lay the Forbidden City, a place of myth and majesty. For centuries, it was the center of the world, the home of the Son of Heaven. And in this gilded cage, a 2-year-old boy was about to become the master of 400 million people. He was chosen by the dying Empress Dowager Cixi, a woman who had held the reins of power for nearly half a century. With her last breath, she sealed the fate of the Qing Dynasty and the fate of this little boy. He was given the regnal name Xuantong, but the world would come to know him as Puyi. Puyi's childhood was a paradox. He had everything and nothing. He was the lord of a vast empire, yet he could not step outside the walls of his palace. He was a god in name, but a prisoner in reality. His every move was dictated by ancient rituals and court politics. He was a lonely boy in a city of ghosts. But outside the palace walls, China was changing. The winds of revolution were blowing. The Qing Dynasty, which had ruled for over 250 years, was crumbling. In 1912, the new Republic of China was born, and the 6-year-old emperor was forced to abdicate. Puyi was allowed to keep his title and live in the Forbidden City, a bizarre arrangement that made him an emperor without an empire. He was a relic of a bygone era, a living symbol of a China that no longer existed. But the storm was far from over, and Puyi's story was just beginning. As Puyi grew into a young man, he became increasingly restless. He was a prisoner in his own home, a king with no kingdom. He yearned for the outside world, for a life of his own. But his imperial title was a curse, a magnet for those who sought to use him for their own political ends. In 1931, Japan invaded Manchuria, the ancestral homeland of the Qing emperors. They needed a puppet to legitimize their rule, and who better than the last emperor of the Qing dynasty? They offered Puyi a chance to restore his empire, a chance to be an emperor again. It was a deal with the devil. Puyi became the ruler of Manchukuo, a puppet state controlled by the Japanese. He was an emperor in name, but a prisoner in reality. He was a pawn in a much larger game, a tragic figure caught in the crossfire of history. He had traded one prison for another. The end of World War II brought the collapse of Manchukuo and the end of Puyi's second reign. He was captured by the Soviets and spent 5 years in a Siberian prison. In 1950, he was handed over to the new People's Republic of China, the communist state founded by Mao Zedong. For the next 10 years, Puyi underwent a process of re-education. He was stripped of his imperial identity and forced to confront his past. He learned to wash his own clothes, to work with his hands, to live as an ordinary citizen. The Son of Heaven was learning to be a man. In 1959, Puyi was pardoned and released. He was no longer an emperor, a puppet, or a prisoner. He was just a citizen of the People's Republic of China. He worked as a gardener in the Beijing Botanical Gardens, and later as a researcher at the National People's Congress. The life of Puyi is a story of epic transformations. From emperor to prisoner, from puppet to citizen. He was a man who lost an empire, but in the end, found himself. And in the quiet solitude of his garden, the last emperor of China finally found his peace.